Muy buenas tardes, amigos. ¿Cómo están? Soy Valdemar Rodriguez. I'm the manager of community partnerships at the Alley Theater, and I'm so happy to be with you this evening. We have an amazing night tonight where we're going to be introducing to you some amazing guests. And I'll tell you momentarily who they are, but I want to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing with this communal reading project. It started with the NEA Big Read last year, where we selected a book called The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros, and we had a successful uh, um, communal read. We gave out almost 800 books, and we had activities surrounding the book throughout the city of Houston. Now, this year, the Social Advisory Committee, which are the community members of the Alley Theater, selected a book called Bless Me Ultima by Rodolfo Anaya. And this book has a lot of tradition, a lot of culture. And we'll be exploring some of those themes today as we talk to two amazing people well, para que voy a elongate the surprise. We know that we're going to be talking to some of the actors that were part of the film, the feature film Bless Me Ultima. But today, I just want to tell you that it's exciting for me because I'm able to talk about three different passions that I have, which is the written word, then theater, and then also filmmaking. But before we start diving into all those different passions of mine and how all of them come together to create this, that stems from the magic of this wonderful book, I would love to introduce to you my amazing amiga, my co-host and moderator, La Super Comadre. She's an educator, she's a talk show host, she's everything and everything. She's a superwoman, mi querida amiga, Claudia Macias. Please help me welcome Claudia Macias.
Houston. And I'm just super excited to be here to share that joy, that message, that connection with the Zócalo Advisory Board, being able to do this with the city of Houston, with those that are watching. And what better way than to come together and share our experiences by bringing in some other special guests.
That's right. But before we bring in the special guest, I just want to tell you, comadre, that this book is also in Spanish. So lo bonito is that I was able to read this with my dad. And we were able to dissect some of the chapters and talk about the traditions and the culture that we grew up with. Obviamente, when I talk to my friends about que mi mamá me curaba con el huevo, they cannot comprehend that. But I know, we all know people that have the faith, that grew up like we did as Latinos with this tradition and the culture and the spirituality. We know very well that these things, my mom did not make them up, that they come from generations and generations. And so this wonderful book talks about just that, and about how a wonderful midwife, que le llaman la grande, Ultima, comes back to a small town to visit and to take care of the 7-year-old boy that she gave, that she helped deliver to this world 7 years ago, para poder pasarles a ellos. Pasarles esa tradición, esa cultura que obviamente que solamente si lo has vivido puedes apreciar.
And passing on that culture, passing la cultura, but knowing it, learning about it, passing it down. I had the honor of having had the chance to meet Rodolfo Anaya. He passed away recently, que en paz descanse. But even my own daughter, Citlali Villegas, she's my oldest, and we were part of the Libro Traficante book tour, where we took books back to Arizona. And this book was one of the books that was taken out of the hands of the high school students. Some of them were in the middle of reading their book, Bless Me Ultima, and some of the people, staff came and took the book away from the kids. So we had a chance to go take it back. And my daughter, Citlali, had a chance to meet Rodolfo Anaya. So talk about making sure that our kids, la juventud, pueda conocer a este libro. qué otra
Sí,
cosa.
y los temas que están en este libro, desafortunadamente estamos perdiendo
Sí,
la tradición y la cultura a nosotros y cómo se la vamos a pasar a
sí,
nuestros hijos y luego a nuestros nietos.
ya.
Si no, no tenemos algo como este pedazo de arte, de literatura que nos documenta los
Sí.
diferentes aspectos obviamente, el mundo del curanderismo, o sea, de ¿quién no vivió que cuando le dolía la panza la mamá le hacía un té de estafiate?
Oh, sí.
O en mi casa que teníamos, como le digo, un barril de
No,
Vicks. El Vicks,
el VIX. ¿Te bañaban en VIX a ti?
lo usaban para poder, ¿cómo se llama? Pues para poder, o sea, curar
Respirar
todo,
y
los corajes los
sí.
curaba. El Vicks me ayudaba a que me bañara, porque tú has unido, no se quiere bañar.
Sí, y luego también se usa mucho del ojo.
El ojo.
Tócame o me vas a dar ojo.
Exactamente.
So,
Y tú sabes, esas tradiciones que están aquí, mucha gente lo malinterpreta. They misinterpret it because they think, oh, that is it black magic? Is
Yeah.
it witchcraft? Is it tarot card reading? Is it psychic? No, it's not. The name curanderismo is women of medicine.
Yeah.
La curandera, that's what it means, women of medicine. And back when they didn't have access to
healthcare or hospitals o un doctor.
Their backyard, the desert,
Yeah.
tenían ahí el maguey, tenían ahí el estafiate, la menta,
Sí.
la canela, whatever.
Yo me acuerdo de ir a ver a mi abuelita en Matehuala, San Luis Potosí, y tantas hierbitas que tenía. Yo pensaba que nomás estaban plantadas para que uno pueda ir a escarbar y jugar. And then we get in trouble because it was actually what they used to make tecitos. Te dolía algo, un tecito. Pasabas un mal paso, un tecito.
Y todo eso viene a ser a la raíz de esto que es la fe.
Yeah.
La fe que tenemos en the faith that we have in what our parents and grandparents, they learned throughout their lives and pass on generation to generation to make us feel better, to cleanse us.
Exactly.
Nowadays, everybody's like, me hicieron ojo, o me están mandando energías negativas. Let's get an egg or let's get sage and let's clean ourselves and let's pray, and that kind of all this is like laid out in here. And this happened in the 1940s, am I correct? 1940s?
Yeah.
1940s. This book was written in 1940s, where anybody that had any kind of success in healing somebody else that was sick, que tenía empache o lo que sea, they called them a witch. And so
it was unfortunate.
Yes, it was unfortunate. And so later on, after we have the opportunity to speak with our guests, we're going to be seeing this film screening. Feature film, Bless Me Ultima.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be so exciting.
Yes. But let's go ahead and just meet our guests because I'm dying to meet them. Yes. So we have two wonderful actors that are coming to us virtually from New Mexico. The first, I will introduce the first one. Her name is Monique Candelaria, and she is from La Familia Mazatlan Spaniard. She's going to talk a little bit about how she broke into the film industry as a woman, being her first time breakout role basically in Bless Me Ultima, and now throughout the years she's been coming out in different miniseries and different shows, and she'll share all that great news for you. But so please help me welcome la señorita, la actriz, la hermosísima Monique Candelaria.
Hi, thank you for the beautiful introduction. Let's see where to begin. So yes, Bless Me Ultima was my official breakout role and where I became SAG eligible, which was the beginning of my career. And Carl Franklin was the director who was amazing, who basically told one of the background casting directors, hey, if there is somebody that you think that should be in front of me, I want you to bring them in so that way I can see them and they can audition. So it was an opportunity that doesn't always happen. And it was lovely that even those that are here were supportive and saying, hey, you know what, you did graduate from UNM. You are capable of being there, taking on this role, understanding. So I got a theater degree, emphasis in acting from UNM. I really do think that being in an educational setting is so crucial. And the reason why I say that is, yes, you can go in, you can play, and you can feel good with like who you are and be able to bring out a lot of that beauty. However, at least when you're in a class setting and you make a fool of yourself, You're going to do it over and over, and hopefully, when you actually are on set, you're not going to have those mistakes that you made in the classroom. You're getting out all of those things. And plus, when people know that you do have some sort of education behind you, there's a lot less liberties that are taken upon you of like, so you're just starting out, right? Like you don't really know what you're doing. And then you'll see people that are playing the game, you know what I mean? So I feel like I've been very fortunate that I don't have a lot of people that try to take advantage of me, but there are many others, especially women, who are very gullible sometimes and not knowing like the structure of how the industry works, where they're told certain things and obviously they're not the right things. So I do think that looking at, like, if someone's teaching something, look at their credits, see if they're active in the industry, knowing how to assess, is this the person that I want to study with? Is this a person that can move me forward? So with Bless Me Ultima, it was just like everything landed in its place. I was taken care of. Here we were in Abiquiu, or at least the scenes that I was in Abiquiu. And we all took care of each other. I feel like everybody that we were on set with became family. And to this day, we are still in contact. We actively support, love, reach out. And that's the difference between, I think, honestly, any other film production I've been a part of, is that when you find that family, that we really do latch on and we're like, yes, we got each other. We're going to do this. We push each other forward.
Well, Monique, one of the things that I'm noticing right now, because we're here at the Alley Theater, and in our community siempre hablamos del bilingüe. We start a sentence in English and finish that in Spanish. Okay, now you talked to during our pre-interview about how you don't speak Spanish. Tell us a little bit about that, because that's one of the things that happens in the book. Of this the young boy assimilating, being a Mexicano and not wanting to speak Spanish because of what people would think. Tell me a little bit how you connected with that character and how that connected in your life.
So I connected with it because it is very, very much what has happened in my reality and in my life. So my grandmother only speaks Spanish. She had 10 kids total. They all ended up moving to the US, and they adopted the mindset that we are American, and they completely erased their accents. They did their best to push that away because they were mistreated, and they obviously no longer wanted to identify with something that was causing them havoc within their ability to function within society. So out of those 10 kids, myself and all of my cousins, which is 20 plus of us, do not speak any Spanish. And we can't even speak to our grandmother in Spanish. We're also in an area where we're influenced by different forms of Spanish. So whether it's Spanish from Spain or different forms where it's been adapted. So if you go to northern New Mexico, they have a lot of Spanish that has a lot of native influences to it. And then if you go more towards the South Valley, you're going to get a lot more of like an authentic Mexican dialect, but that's different than what's used. So we have a lot of Spanglish and a lot of words that aren't necessarily used anywhere else, probably but here.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, nosotros les llamamos a la gente que no habla. Well, I have to say it in English, you can understand me. The people that don't speak Spanish, usually we call them, there's a name for them that we call them here in Texas, is Chicano, because they were brought up. And so I'm certain that people have called you that before.
Kristen. And I can totally relate to that too, because growing up, a little bit on the flip side, but then kind of connected, because growing up, all I heard was Spanish. So I went into the school systems only knowing Spanish, and I got in trouble for not paying attention because I didn't understand what's going on. And then I quickly learned English, and then I went from Claudia to Claudia. So that piece right there, I later would introduce myself as Claudia. And then I became Claudia again, actually at U of H, because of books like this. So your experience is so beautiful, and it's hurtful at the same time, but it's so necessary to be shared, because that way we can make sure that we're constantly honoring ourselves, where we come from, how we came to be, what our ancestors were like. So as we continue moving forward and sharing this book, we are there to listen to the other stories and the other kids' stories and the future generations, but they need to know ours. And we need to make sure that we honor who anyone is and how they come from, whatever language and dialect they have.
Monique, whenever you heard about the auditions, had you read the book? Had you read the book by that time, or what was? Talk to me about the process of learning the themes or learning what the book was about, and how that played a role in you auditioning, and of course getting the part, and of course being on the set and seeing all the other characters, desarrollando esos personajes.
So for me, there's a difference between Albuquerque and also Rio Rancho. So where I grew up was in Rio Rancho, which was a lot more Caucasian background individuals. So in those schools, they didn't have us read Bless Me Ultima. It was actually Simone, which is also one of the other actresses you guys will be able to get a full vibe for, that was part of the APS schools. And for them, that was a requirement that they actually read Bless Me Ultima. So when I got the opportunity to audition for Bless Me Ultima, Simone was ecstatic. She was like, "This is amazing! Like, that's the only book that I read. It's this, it's that. I even had my mom read it. Like, it was very exciting because she had so many cultural parallels to the story of how she grew up and what that meant to her. And through her enthusiasm, I was then intrigued of like, oh wow, I'm missing a large part of my background. And that was a realization for me of how disconnected I really was from my origins. So I want to say, like, in my adulthood, it really has been a journey for me to find who I am and also bring in all of those aspects. So I am a product of my environment. I'm Mescalero Apache descendant. I do have the native from Sinaloa. And then, of course, tons of Spaniard, right? So, it is what it is. But the thing is that, like, I don't know what they eat in Spain. I don't know what they do. I don't know what their culture is. And because we got removed from Mexico, I'm also missing a lot of the Mexican culture. And then because the native community, my grandfather on that side didn't want his children to be mistreated or sent to a reservation. So when the kids came out light complected, he basically said, look, just say that they're Spaniard. So on both sides of my family, it is very, very disconnected, and it breaks my heart. And I've done my best to rekindle, learn, pull cultural practices that I resonate with and bring them into my life, as well as adapting it to what rings true to me. So I am a certified stone practitioner, which we can also get into, but bringing in those elements of spirituality, those connections that are universal with everybody, and realizing that we are one. It doesn't matter where you come from. We need to be there for each other and go through these adaptations in our cultural society.
Tell me what role you played, and also tell me how being a spiritual person, and then obviously you're stone, you call it an energy stone practitioner, am I correct?
Certified stone practitioner.
So how did that come into play in portraying your character, and not only your character, but also seeing all the other characters? Because when you do a film in New Mexico, and whether you're there just to film your part, I know that folks come out and they see other actors doing their parts, and because it's it's a novelty, it's something that the community comes and corrals around. So what was that experience for you? And the next question is, what was something that magical that happened, or something that scary or something, because of they talk about witches, they talk about the good and evil, and so tell us a little bit about it.
All right, so you got a little bit fuzzy, but I'm going to do my best to answer everything that's going on. Okay, there we go. Can you guys hear me clearly? Just give me a thumbs up and I'll flip over. Okay, perfect. So the role that I played in there was actually a prostitute. When I originally auditioned, they had in mind several roles that were some of the bigger parts for the Latina women. And Carl Franklin did tell Bob Baxter, which was the gentleman that got me the audition, he's like, she's beautiful, but she's too Hollywood looking. And Bob was like, well, you need at least one good looking prostitute. Why don't you just throw her in as a prostitute? So I was really happy that even when they credited me with just my own name. So Monique is Monique. But it is interesting when it comes to period pieces that if you're not a wife, or you're not a wholesome woman, churchgoer, you're either, whether we're playing a native and we're savage, or then or suddenly we're a whore. So it's like anytime you're in that in between where they can't exactly identify what your ethnicity is, I find that I'm consistently being put in for a character that's like, oh, cool. Well, you have sex appeal, so you'll be great in this spot. You know what I mean? So of course that hurts, to realize that we're put inside these categories of stereotypes, and it's really hard for us sometimes to break away from the stereotype of what that is, or what they perceive is what a Mexican looks like, or what somebody would look like from that time. So yeah, that was my relationship to the story, was embracing that, yes, there's a difference between now and also times back then of what you were capable of doing based on your family and where they stood. As far as spiritualism, so for me, like I said, I'm a certified stone practitioner. And basically what that is doing is realizing that we are all portals of energy. If you were to look under a microscope and you look at any one given thing, there's just moving atoms. We're all moving parts. We see it as something solid, but essentially we are energy that can be tuned appropriately with different vibrations. So stones have a vibration or frequency of their own. So when we are surrounded by certain stones, it's like our body wants to mimic it. So like if you picture a friend coming in through the front door and they go, hey, what's up? You're going to match that. You're going to be like, yo, what's up? And that's what stones do. So the reason why they work so well is that our body's like, oh, that's my friend. And it wants to bring it either up to match the frequency, or if you're really elevated and need to be grounded a little bit, it brings you to that grounded area. Now, there's not a lot of people that are stone practitioners because Taoists wanted to consume everything, and there's a lot of metals in stones. So it's very good to be aware of what is in stones and not just throw it in water, because they gave themselves metals poisoning, and their skin would turn blue, and they would frequently die. So it's not a practice that's typically gone, but now they figured out you can use clear quartz test tubes, put it in, creates a barrier and amplifies the energy, and of course creating portals over the body that moves energy. So for me, when I do see films that incorporate spiritualism, I love it because I feel it's an aspect that's often disregarded unless it's within the church. And I think that we are all influenced through our ancestors' heritage, and there's something innately in our DNA that says there's something bigger than ourselves, if only we could tap into it and open up our mind, body, and soul to something more. So for me, my soul sings when I see that there is something more, even if it's just something that I need to learn that's outside of my current self.
Nice. So you're not really, I mean, you're acting on the role, but you're really giving of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. And that's what great actors do. They go in to portray a role, but they also bring that, esa pasión que tienen adentro, que es muy real. So they're not really acting on that spiritual part.
Yeah. And you're bringing in your energy. You're bringing in the energy
Yes.
that role needs. And that's the beautiful thing, is bringing that persona to life. That's beautiful. So, and I heard a baby earlier in the background. Was there like a baby when we were, because I was thinking about for future roles, for those parents that are listening, kids that are listening, what words do you have, Monique, for the potential kid that might have that acting bug? And they may not see, or a lot of people that look like them on certain shows, or maybe they see certain portrayals, like you were talking earlier, where stereotype. What words do you have for those families or for those kids that might want to go into acting?
So number one, from the moment that we enter this world, we are trying to figure out how we can interact with those, to also be loved, to have connection with others, to function with family, your brothers, siblings, or your bosses or friends. So know that you are already an actor. You are already putting in the work to figure out who you are and how you interact with different people and how you can get what you want. And that's essentially when you're getting a script and you're breaking it down, it's the same process. Now, to build the skills and, to be able to break it down in different ways for different stories, certainly get educated. Like, go ahead and do some background work, figure out how it is to be on set. Are you willing to put in those long hours? It's not short days. You're going to look at 12 to 16 hours. So you have to have a passion. You have to have a love for it. As far as also children, know that no one can be you better than you. So while you can build a character, don't lose yourself. There is an essence to who you are that needs to be seen, and that includes all aspects of you, not one thing. We're all mixed from different places, and that's what gives us color. So instead of, if you see a role and they say, be a nun, it's kind of boring if you see 50 people come in and they go, yes, I am so pious. That's boring, but if you see someone like Whoopi Goldberg and they're in there and be like, yo, you guys need to get your stuff together. Why? I can still have a God and I can still do, and it's like, look, like suddenly it's colored and you can bring an essence to yourself. So know that you got so much to offer. And no matter who you are, what color, your eyes, your skin, your hair, that you have something to offer that people want to see. And if there is one thing I can say is there is only one of you, so bring you to the table because people will want to see you.
That snap clap? Yes. Bring you to the table. I love that. I love that because a long time ago, someone told me, never leave Claudia at the door before entering any arena. And
Yes.
that's something I continuously share with any student that I've worked with, community members. Never leave who you are at the door. If you're Claudia, you show up as Claudia. If you want to be Claudia, then claim that too. Whatever it is that you choose.
And one of the things that Claudia had mentioned about, our young people that want to, go into this industry, but what about our older people? There's a lot of older people that wanted to do this when they were a kid.
Yeah.
They didn't have the opportunity. They didn't know that they could do this. Mm-hmm. And so that advice that you just said is, of course, they're going to and take action and get educated. Maybe go take an acting class. Mm-hmm. So, amiga, we're going to go ahead and send you backstage momentarily, but we're going to bring you back because we want to know all the different shows that you're in, so you can share with us, so we can catch you on those shows, and then also find a way how we can connect with you. So, hang tight with us as we bring in our next guest. So, Claudia, who is it that we're coming?
I have the honor of presenting our next guest, Simón Gurulé. So, aplausos. Bienvenida.
Hola.
Simón, how are you?
Doing good. Bien, ¿cómo están ustedes?
Can you hear us, first of all?
Sí, los puedo oír. Can you hear me?
Y contigo sí podemos hablar en español, ¿verdad?
Sí, poquito español también, porque sabemos que tienes familia de Chihuahua, ¿verdad?
De Chihuahua, sí. Mi mamá y su familia todos son de Chihuahua.
Ay, bien, qué bien. So I'm super excited to have you here today. We're going to be going from English to Spanish to Spanglish to Tex-Mex to all that, because sometimes we begin in English and then we terminamos en el español, ¿verdad? So So just go ahead and dinos un poquito de ti. ¿Quién es Simón Gurulé? Y también I read somewhere that you got this acting bug. When did you get this bite, and how did your family react to that?
Ooh, okay. So I am first generation American. My mom's from Chihuahua. Her family's from Chihuahua. And that was a tough thing to go from being a first generation here, because into the film world, because that's not what you do. Your family comes here so that you can have opportunities. And to them, what that means is like you get that corporate job, you go to school, you do certain things, you know what I mean? And I went to school. I graduated from UNM with a bachelor's in international business, finance, and a minor in Spanish, and I did all that. And then I went with Monique. Monique had the opportunity to have an audition, and I had gone with her a couple of times because she had an audition out in Santa Fe, and she's like, hey, do you want to come with me and keep me company, on the trip, because it's about a 45-minute drive out? And yeah, I'll go with you. Let's go. So through going with her, I kind of got to know the casting directors a little bit. They knew who I was because I'd go with her. And like she said, I was super excited that she had this audition because she outed me. It was the only book I read from cover to cover. When you're kids, you spark note things, you're like, oh, I didn't get a chance to read it. I need to read the spark notes or the cliff notes, and
Cliff notes.
Yeah. And it was the only book I had read from cover to cover. it was like seeing my story, my family's story being told in a book, you know, reliving that. And so I was ecstatic for her. And so I went with her. She went in, she got to audition in front of Carl, and she comes out, and the casting director, Bob Baxter, he comes out and he looks at me and he looks at Monique and he goes, "Is she ready?" And my eyes, I turned into like a deer caught in headlights. And I'm like, "What are you saying? Am I ready?" And Monique says, she goes, "Yeah." And I was like, "No." So she tells them, it's all improv, do your best, enjoy it, just have fun with it. She's like, "You already don't have it. Why are you stressed out? Just go in and do it and have fun. And if you land it, awesome. And if you don't, then that's okay. You didn't have it in the first place, right?" So I went in and I did my thing and came out, we left. Well, Monique went to school for acting. She did a theater degree. She got a theater degree in acting. And they called me first and I landed a part, and I was like, "What?"
And what part was that?
Yes.
I'm part of I'm Juan's wife. I'm part of the Luna family. And Juan is played by Luis Bordonada. Beautiful, amazing soul. Like, he is a very good friend. He's awesome. Like Monique said, we all became family on this. And so I got bit by the acting bug. I worked for 10 days and it was one of the best experiences of my life. There is no other show I've ever worked on or anything that I've done up until this point that has been like that experience. And I think it was just beautiful because the energy of that book and the story being told made everybody on set be a family. We all became family. We all connected in that way. And it was just such a beautiful experience. And after that, I like I said, I got bit and by the acting bug, and my mom wasn't very happy about that. So.
I wanted to jump on that right now because what you're saying sounds very similar to what I heard growing up. And it kind of reminds me of the pressures of Antonio, the character of hearing, vas a ser vaquero, yo quiero ser vaquero, sacerdote, vaquero. I mean, I don't know about you. You sounds like from something I wrote that you went through something similar, like having to feel those pressures. I felt the pressures too. Tú no te vas a salir de la casa casada or in una tumba, what do you call it? Or in a coffin. Those are your choices, and so now it's made me a better parent to my own kids. So Simon, what did you heard about, like you said about the acting bug and how family was not too crazy about it, but growing up, what were some of those pressures or other pressures you felt, especially being a woman? First generation, you got, your parents who are still holding on to certain tradiciones, but now you're here on this side and now they want you to also do this, but still be that. What was that like growing up? And what pressures or expectations were placed on you? And how did you go about navigating your own choices and decisions?
Oh my goodness. There's so much there. I mean, even from just being a child, being in una familia que somos Latinos, we're always comparing, right? So I think one of the first things that's the earliest part of my childhood is always being compared to other people. Why can't you be like this person? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And that's hard, growing up in a family like that. You grow up and you realize that a lot of your insecurities stem from that because you never felt like you were good enough, and that's now my responsibility to fix that. That's not my mom's fault. It's her fault for doing those things, but it's my responsibility now to fix those things in myself, But, and then getting older with religion and making sure you're doing all these. One of the first things I think I started rebelling on is I dropped out of confirmation, and I didn't get confirmed. And that was a huge one for my mom. And, that she was so mad about that. And I think she kind of started letting me make those decisions, even though she was very angry about it, and then going into college, before going into college, I had the same reaction. You can't leave the house and tienes que estar casada, no te vas a ir. You can't move out. What are you thinking? How are you going to, And so that was another thing. And then going to college and my mom, you know, you're going to do this, vas a hacer esto, vas a hacer aquello. You're going to be, you know, whatever she wanted me to. I had to fight for what I wanted to do, you know. And she's like, well, ¿qué vas a hacer con negocios? And I'm like, Mom, everything's a business. Everything in life is a business, you know. And then her being upset that I got into acting and I didn't choose to get into, you know, get that corporate job, you know. And then after that, I went out to Stella Adler, and funny enough, my friend Luis, who I met on that, he was the one that had brought up like, hey, you should send in your stuff and see if you can get in. And I got in. They interviewed me. I got in. My mom was the last person I told, and I told her over the phone because I was scared to tell her. And sure enough,
Wow, you were afraid that, did you get chanclazos or chanclas thrown around like some of us?
yeah, that's how you learn.
You gotta dodge. I got some news. You reminded me of a time when I connecting with you of, you know, making an announcement to my own family because I was doing something a little bit different. I wanted to sing in a band and I did it on the down low. It sounds like you probably did a lot of things on the down low. Nothing bad. We were just making those choices for you. And then when I announced, oh, by the way, I have an announcement to make, what was the first thing they thought? Ay, sacó con su domingo 7. But I'm like, no, I'm not pregnant. I was actually in college. I said, I recorded a CD and I've been doing gigs on the down low. I'm not really at the University of Houston Law Library. I'm really not there. But, you know, but those stories. And so now moving forward, you know, as you've had this experience, you talked a little bit about becoming a family with the actors and even now. So I wanted to ask, while you were filming with this newfound family, sometimes you hear actors have experiences like supernatural experiences while filming. They might have seen something or heard something. Is there something that maybe you could share with us? Did you have some type of experience, or maybe some of your cast members during the filming?
You know what? When we were filming, I don't recall having any of those experiences, and I'd be lying if I told you that any of the cast did or didn't. But I mean, a lot of the places that we were in were older places, you know, the middle of nowhere. And you know, New Mexico is very rich in the land is very rich spiritually, you know, and so I definitely have a lot of stories growing up where I grew up, you know, things like that. Like a lot of our areas that we lived in just had a lot of energy and a lot of things that would happen all the time. But as far as when I worked on set, I didn't have any experiences, but it was beautiful to work with everybody and be connected and, you know, being a part of a group. Porque a veces, you know, with Latinos and being with other Latinos, sometimes people can be catty, or, you know what I mean? And it was such a beautiful thing with being in a family with different Latinos from different parts and all over the place, and just getting to do what we love and be on set.
Ahora tengo una pregunta para ti. Primeramente, gracias por todo ese discurso que nos diste. I mean, there's a lot of people here that have read the book, part of the book club, and some of them are artists here in their own right, and so they've experienced some of the things that you talked about. Now, you mentioned in your bio about that you have a specific certification. Tell us a little bit about that. And did this certification come about while you were doing the movie, or after, or is something that was already instilled in you before auditioning for the movie?
So I'm Reiki 2 certified. So Reiki is a Japanese form of energy healing, and pretty much what you do is we use a technique called palm healing, where you transmute, or you use energy, you transfer universal energy from your palms and your hands to your patient to help heal them spiritually, emotionally, or physically. And then we also use sigils or symbols to assist us in doing that. And learning it is that we all have it in us. It's all in us. It's just learning to tap into that energy fountain that we have within us. And, you know, as a kid, my mom always used to say that I had healing hands. And I think that's why I really resonated with me. You know, she'd be like, oh, mijita, ven, súbame, give me a massage, you know, and she'd always be like, your hands están calientes, they're healing hands, you know? And so I think that was kind of like the introduction of that. And then obviously, like you guys are saying, growing up using the huevo to cleanse yourself, and all those stories that you hear and all that, and the Vicks and all that. And I actually started when COVID hit. We ended up on lockdown, and I started tapping into all those different things. Prior to that, I became certified in doing transcendental meditation. And that kind of also propelled me into looking into something else and just seeing what I connected with and what I resonated with. And I really resonated with Reiki and using our hands to heal, and understanding that we all have that within us. And it's just being secure enough and confident that you have it in yourself, and, not being afraid to tap into that.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now we want to go ahead and bring back Monique so that we can hear from both of you, because we want to know what you are doing now. What are the projects that you're working on right now? Where can we go and check out a movie or a mini series, or where can we see what's up next in your acting career? And also, how can we also get in touch with you? We want to know more about stone therapy or Reiki 2 energies. Yes, if people want to book a session with you, we want to make sure that you give us that your Instagram or a way for us to connect with you. But let's start with Monique. Monique, tell me what projects are you working on right now, and what is in the future for you?
All right. So the two things that came out that are the most recent for myself are Driftless. You can find that on Prime or free on Tubi. I was #1 on the cast list for that film, and what was beautiful is that it was done by students and college students in Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. And so there's a lot of like I said, I'm also Native, so this particular movie does tap into a lot of those racist comments that we can come in contact with people who are just really ignorant to what history is, and taking care of the land. And so really this movie has a lot of really powerful and beautiful images and messages within it. So if you do want to check it out, it does tap into everything from murder, abduction, contamination of water, animals dying, man, hating on humanity and creating separations. I mean, it literally is loaded with tons of stuff. So definitely check that one out. And then the other one, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's called Lovecraft Country, and it's on HBO Max.
Yes.
The character that I played is Yahima. Again, it's an Arawak tribal native that was basically trapped inside of a ship with her family that they slaughtered. And she had cast a spell initially to preserve herself. No, and sorry, I should not say her. They are them, or Z. This particular character is in tune with both masculine and feminine energy. So the divine masculine, the divine feminine. I do consider myself two-spirit, meaning that depending on the situation and how I feel is best to navigate is what I will tap into. And that's also how I feel I connect with my guides. So it was really powerful to be able to step into that role. I actually, for that role, speak in an Arawak tribal language that's been dead since the 18th century, where they had somebody that studied the language, translated it to the best of their ability, and then were able to give it to a dialect coach to make sure that I was authentically pronouncing it to the best of what's available at this current time. I also had underwater scenes, and I do have, I'm not gonna lie, guys, like this is not for children in this area, although it could be that, for natives, our body is just our body. It's a part of our anatomy, and the way they chose to show two-spirit was through a visual format of making them intersex. So they did give me a prosthetic where I have a vagina on one side and a penis on the other. So it was a challenge also to be a performer and realizing that you need to be comfortable in your skin. And you also have to be comfortable with this added part, and you need to bring to life a character and not show them as a monster. You need to show them as very authentic and very human, so that way the audience can follow along and actually want to see more and learn more, and that's also part of, igniting people to want to learn and, adapt and bring in culture that maybe doesn't even belong to them, but that's what they resonate with. And I think that that's really important, is to embrace those who just resonate with it, because that's how you keep something alive.
Yes.
So yes, sorry.
Well, no, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's commendable, because there's a lot of roles that a lot of people don't want to take because of taboo, or they don't understand, or they just, they think it's that's not within their, something that they can do, that people are going to frown upon them. And so an actor, there's what is the saying? There's no small roles, right?
Correct.
And or there's no bad roles. So that's great. And you said it's called Driftless. Driftless.
So Driftless is the park ranger one, and
Okay.
that one's where I'm number one on the cast list.
Okay.
And that's all about national parks and nature, and how people basically cause their own problems a lot of the time.
And the one
And then the
HBO
other
Max?
one is,
But this an HBO Max?
the HBO Max is Lovecraft Country.
Okay.
I'm in episode 4, and I'm the entire ending portion where they've been going through this whole journey just to get to me, so it's a really powerful piece, because it also touches on the 3 forms of silence. So the first one that they did implement in there, I'm the only character that didn't have subtitles. What they ended up doing was they had the lead character translating, and that's a problem, right? If you have somebody translating for you, they're only able to say what they understand or what they think that you're saying. So that's one form of silence, of losing language. The next form, there's a moment when my character loses their ability to just speak. It comes out as like these horrible screams, and instead of figuring out what's wrong, it goes to violence. So the second form of silence is violence. So when they don't want you to be doing something that they disagree with, instead of trying to figure out how we can adjust, they physically will harm you. And then the third form of silence that the character goes through is actual death. So when they think that you're a threat, or that you have the ability to possibly harm their loved one without fully understanding the context of the culture and what was actually behind it, then they will eliminate you altogether, which is what we've seen with a lot of the native culture, whether it's North America, South America, or all around the world. So it was really controversial. And I felt it.
Yeah, it does. It does sound like it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing about, what you have in the works, what you already have out there for us to follow and to watch. And now, thank you so much for sharing. And now I want to bring back Simon Gurule. So come on and share with us, what is in store for you? Where can we find you? What are some upcoming projects that you have worked on or are working on? And also, and at the end, we'll have them both come and give us their handles so we can find them, follow them, like them, share them. But Simon, tell us a little bit about you. What are you doing now? What projects are you on, and how can we connect with that?
Yeah, so the latest project I had worked on was The Cleaning Lady. That was season 1, episode 5. I had a small part in there. Sometimes it's like there was a 5 and under, but being in a smaller market, that's kind of the nature of sometimes the gigs that we get here. But like you said, there's no such thing as a small role. Every role is necessary in the making of film. So that was the latest show that I had done. Prior to that, I had the opportunity of working on the Manson Brothers Midnight Zombie Massacre, and it was awesome because I actually got to do stunts on that, and so that was a blast. That was a whole other beast compared to acting, going on set and being thrown around and tossed around. So if you get a chance to see that, it's a super fun movie, very, very fun. And then currently I'm just auditioning, just because of the nature of COVID and everything that's been going on. So just currently auditioning and waiting for that next gig to come.
All right. So thank you so much for sharing. And, and walking away today from this charla, this conversation, I've learned so much. Every time I meet someone, every time I interview someone, I'm like, what am I learning, from that person? What did you walk away from after having been part of the Bless Me Ultima? What that experience? And then going into these auditions, what is it that keeps you going, keeps you motivated, keeps you, looking and also waiting for that next amazing role. You've been working so really hard. So anything you've taken away from the making of Bless Me Ultima into your new roles, into your future work?
Definitely what I took away with Bless Me Ultima was just finding a sense of family with those that you're working with, and connecting. And through that, finding that family, they gave me the confidence and the push to do other things, like Luis, kind of pushing me to go to Stella Adler, just, do it, interview, what can happen, and like Monique was saying, it's like bringing yourself to the table and having that confidence. And I think that they were the beginning of that family that I found outside of my family, because my family wasn't very supportive, right? Of giving me that confidence to do that and to be me and bring me to the table and to have at it, that, go for it. And you guys can find me on Instagram. My handle's at _Simone_Brielle_. And on there, you can also click on there and you can find my link tree on there that'll lead to everything else as well.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Simone. Well, we're nearing the end of our Cuentos y Charlas. I want to thank both of you for taking the time out and kind of enlightening us with the magic world of acting, and this, more specifically, your experience and what this book and being part of this movie for you, a vehicle to go on and do other projects and continue being an artist, and so thank you so much. I want to say right here in the studio, we have a lot of the book club readers, members, the captains, and the members that read the books. And we're excited to see, as soon as we finish the Cuentos Charlas, we're going to go ahead and watch the movie and then have a small celebration. And we're going to do it in honoring of both of you for being, putting yourselves out there as Latina artists and defying the wishes of your parents. And I'm sure your parents are now excited that you were terco like me and did what you wanted, because now you got to really show the world what you can do. And nosotros como Latinos, we have talent. We are engineers. We could do anything. And one of the things that we can do very well is be artists. And como yo, you're saying, Mike, that I need to be an actor because I have, I get very emotional. I have all the emotions. I could get angry and sad and happy all at the same time. So, but I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I want to say that before I pass this on to you, Claudia, I want to mention that we are going to, from Puerto Amigas, we are bringing Toñita Gonzalez, who is curandera, who's they call her an abuela. She's a curandera that's coming from Nuevo Mexico, and we're going to have a very intensive workshop, an all-day workshop where she's going to share with us, the theory and how you can heal yourself in your home and your pets, like Frijol, how to be able to get all the negativity that that comes into your life, and those energies, to get them out. And so we're going to have a Cuentos y Charlas with her on September the 9th. At 7:00, and we're going to be using the Alley Theater Studio, the New House Theater at the Alley Theater. And then on the 10th, September the 10th, we're going to be having the intensive workshop back here at Aeolian Manor, and we can start the ceremony outside in the island, and then going to come in here, and we can learn everything from amuletos, from the rituals, from even what we consume, to make sure that we are healthy, we're spiritual, that we, get all that negativity away, how to clean ourselves. Because hoy en día alguien me dijo a mí que la gente te puede mandar energía a tu Facebook. De Facebook. Yo me meto al Facebook, lo cierro de volada, porque I don't want to know that energy. But I'm going to be the first in line to be there with Toñita para que tengo el demonio dentro de mí. So, amigas, muchísimas gracias, amiga. Last words for Claudia, and then we have last words for you. Un momentito.
I just want to say, I'm known as La Super Comadre Claudia. I have an online radio show where I bring in amazing people, and then when you're done with the show, you become a super compadre, like my super compadre Valdemar, who's been on the show. Woo! And in the audience, there's some super readers who are also super comadre and compadres that have been on the show. So I want to make you honorary super comadres for stepping into the arena of acting. For going in there full force, and then no matter what, you just keep going and showing up as the way you are, who you are, putting yourself out there, and carrying that dream and running with it. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that work. Thank you for sharing that experience with us today here with all of our readers that were reading Bless Me Ultima, all of our Zócalo, advisory board family, and with the Alley Theater. And also a big aplausos a Maldemar Rodriguez right here. Because of him, because of you, we have this experience. Because of you, because of your vision, because of the work of you being in the arena, of you going in there and saying, hey, we need to do these things. This is the work that is going to continue. Adelante a todos.
Amigas, Simone and Monica, any last words that you would like to share before we say our goodbyes?
That I love you. Never lose your dreams. Always follow your heart. When something feels right. Build your team, build your family. There are people that are not blood that I consider so close to me that have been by my side from the very beginning. So find your tribe. Find who makes your flame fly as high as it can.
Gracias, amiga. Next.
Thank you for having me. Les agradezco con todo mi corazón. It's been an honor to be here, guys. You know what? Follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. I lost my mom in 2015, and she finally came around and she had told me, you know what? Everybody always regrets what they didn't do. I saw her cry tears of all the things that she didn't do. And she finally had told me, you know what? Do it. If you're going to do it, do it. Hazlo. Y hazlo con ganas. And so I just ask for parents and family to support your kids, support their dreams. It's important. And if you have a dream, go for it. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not good enough, that you are special. We're all special. And we're all, like Monique said, we all have our own stories, and bring you and do it with confidence. Y hazlo y dale ganas.
Muchísimas gracias. Pues les quiero dar las gracias ahorita a todo la mesa directiva del Zócalo, from the Alley Theater, the EC department, all of our Rob Meros and Dean Glatton, who's our managing director and our artistic director, and all the wonderful folks that have embraced us as Latinos from the Zócalo Advisory Committee, who has supported us going out into the community. Of course, everybody that's here in the studio, thank you so much for taking a risk. It was like, what is this Cuentos de Charlas? What is this Primer Volador? What are these projects? And so thank each and every one of you for coming out here and embracing which started as words on a page, and now we're going to see it on the stage. We're actually on the screen. And so thank you so much. And just to let you know, you already have both Monique and Simone. You already have an invitation to come next year here, because we want to do an intensive workshop with the kind of work that you do, because we do already have a lot of interest. So go ahead and start packing your bags. Pues muchísimas gracias y que tengan un feliz resto de la tarde. Adiós.